Criminalist Behavior Podcast, the podcast that takes you deep into the heart of Louisiana's history and current, most chilling true crime stories. I'm your host, Sarah Soudier, and I'll be guiding you through the darkness of these crimes and all those involved. Each week, we dig deep on those forgotten crimes or those crimes currently happening with underlying legends that continue to haunt us. So lean in, listen, and get ready, because true crime is anything but ordinary. Stay with me as we unravel what happened in these mysteries. So today we're going to be talking about a case from last year, so 2023. And this is episode number 25. This particular case involves a Louisiana State University student that was raped and killed. So this episode may contain content of a graphic nature, including description of physical and sexual violence against adults and children. Listener discretion is advised. So if this is your first time listening, hi, my name is Sarah Soudier, and I'm your host of Criminalist Behavior Podcast. I want to thank you for listening to the show, and I really hope you enjoy it. And I don't mean enjoy like, oh my God, but I want to get these cases out there. And I know you can't just really enjoy the death of someone. So, I just hope you enjoy the content. You learn from it. You pass it on. Maybe you know any information. Any of that nature. Because that's the whole point of anybody covering cases, is to get their information out there, number one. And number two is maybe you could prevent something like this from happening again. And you could take preventative measures. So that is my goal anyways. That's my purpose of covering these cases. And I'm going to just jump right into the case. So at 19 years old, Madison Kennedy Brooks, she was strikingly beautiful, and she had the world at her fingertips. She was from St. Tammany Parish, otherwise known as the North Shore of Louisiana, and she was born May 7th, 2003. So, yeah, a day after my birthday, so she's a Taurus. And she was born to her parents, Ashley Bostert and Scott Brooks. She had 3 younger siblings, Aiden, Brady, and Kaylin. And at the time of her death, so... yeah, spoiler alert, she dies. She was 5'10", and she weighed about 121 pounds. And she had brown eyes with blonde hair. And she was just a very outgoing individual. She was very adventure-seeking, and Madison loved to travel and explore new cities, and she was a fan of both skydiving and skiing. She had a bubbly, contagious personality, and she was really ready just to take on the world at whatever it had to offer her. And I myself feel like I'm exactly like that, adventure-seeking. I've never been skydiving or skiing, and personally, I don't think skiing would be for me because, yeah, that's just not, no, skydiving, I probably can handle that. But at the time of Madison's passing, she was just beginning the second semester of her sophomore year at Louisiana State University, and she was excelling as a student. She started college after she graduated from St. Scholastica Academy, which is a small Catholic all-girls prep school in Covington, Louisiana. She graduated with a class of 80 other students, and in high school, Madison was an honor roll student. She was a cheerleader and a member of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. She was also part of the school's Spirit Club and Doves for Life initiative, which I'm not sure if y'all are aware of any school spirits club. Maybe it's just that type of area, but I've never heard of a school spirit club. Heard of like student council or something, but a school spirit club? Is that like pep rallies or something? Y'all let me know in that, because I never heard of that. So Madison was an LSU sophomore, and she was recently accepted into the Manship School of Mass Communication. She was an active and beloved member of the Alpha Phi sorority, and she graduated St. Scholastica Academy in 2021. And she enjoyed the adventures of traveling, and most importantly, she loved spending time with her family and friends. She had a pure heart and an infectious laugh, and she really lived every day to the fullest. And her legacy will forever shine in the stars above. So, the year prior to this incident of her death, Madison chose to stay in Baton Rouge for the summer because she wanted to complete some summer courses so she could be ahead in school. And in addition to the schoolwork, she was also an active member of her school's Alpha Phi sorority, like I said. And on January 14th, 2023, that is the day that Madison drank too much. They went to a local bar in Tigerland named Reggie's Bar, and Reggie's Bar sits in a crime-ridden but also university social hotspot. And like I said before, we all know that as Tigerland. And that is where her last fond memories took place, and she will forever and always be 19. So sometime between her last text to her mom, Ashley, at 11:30 p.m. and 3 a.m. the next morning, Brooks was involved in a particular situation. She met these 4 guys at the Reggie's Bar, and Ashley's mom, Ashley, stated that her and Ashley was exchanging text messages just hours before a freak crazy accident happened. So Madison was seen leaving the bar with 4 men, and she was allegedly raped, and apparently within the hours of her receiving messages from her mom and her exchanging those messages, she was hit by a car. And that happened on the very early morning hours of January 15th, 2023. And Madison was hit on Burbank Drive, which is in Baton Rouge. The last message that Madison Brooks wrote to her mom was, "I love you," which at least she's got that fond memory, because I know some people regret that they might have gotten an altercation verbally before something crazy happened, freak accident, whatever may be the case, and then they regret that for the rest of their lives, wishing they lived a moment differently, shoulda, coulda, woulda. So at least her mom knew that she really loved her, and that was her last message to her mom. Madison's mom, Ashley, stated that her daughter also sent her a picture of her and the son of one of the sorority sisters at Reggie's Bar earlier that night. And she also stated that she learned hours later that her daughter was mowed down on a busy intersection, and she immediately suspected foul play. Ashley stated, open quotations, "I knew something terrible happened based on the circumstances of how she was hit, where she was, and the time of her being alone," close quotations. So all of Madison's loved ones and her family, her friends, they all gathered at the hospital because they wanted to say their goodbyes. And her brother went to Reggie's to pick up Brooks' phone, because apparently Madison left her phone at the bar whenever she left. So the last So we're going to go over the timeline of Brooks' last night alive. So on January 14th, 2023, at 10:06 p.m., Madison arrived at Reggie's bar, and the bar itself is located at 1176 Bob Pettit Boulevard in the Tigerland section of East Baton Rouge, which is approximately 1 mile from the LSU campus. She used a fake ID to enter, and she was issued a 21 and over wristband. And 10 minutes later, at 10:16, 4 suspects named Kaysen, Carver, Kavion, and Desmond and Everett arrived at Reggie's. And about 1 a.m., which would be now January 15th, Madison is seen on surveillance, sitting on a bar stool. She gets up from the bar stool to adjust her pants, and she kind of stumbles backwards, losing her balance. 3 of the men helped her regain her footing. And about a half hour later, Madison is captured on the surveillance, sitting on a bench near the bar's entrance, and she falls while she was attempting to stand up. Desmond approached Madison, and Madison was apparently wearing a baseball cap, and Desmond removed the cap from her head, and she ended up grabbing his hand for support while she tried standing up again. And about 10 to 15 minutes later, Madison is seen leaving Reggie's bar with the 4 men. Again, those 4 men are Desmond Carter, which was 17 years old, Kaysen Carver, 18 years old, Everett Lee, 28, and Washington, 18. So 2 minutes later, they are seen on surveillance walking towards a parked car. And Madison attempted to open the door of another vehicle, at which the men directed her to the right vehicle. So she was trying to get into the wrong vehicle. And 1:51 a.m., Brooks and the 4 guys were seen walking to their parked vehicle. And at 1:54 is whenever surveillance captured the vehicle leaving the parking lot. So at 2:50 a.m., again, January 15th, 2023, the EBRSO, which is the East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office Traffic Division, they received a call about a fatal crash on Burbank Drive. And this is when authorities arrived on scene, and they discovered that Madison Brooks was struck by a car. Madison walked a distance of roughly 0.17 miles, and she was then struck by a ride-share driver. Yeah, I know, I kind of sounded that out a little bit. Don't ask me why, but she was struck by a ride-share driver. And this was, again, on Burbank Drive near Pelican Lakes Parkway. And, y'all, this is a busy highway. This is about 3.5 miles from Reggie's bar. And the person who struck Madison, which is a rideshare driver, formerly like Uber, Lyft, whatever those other ones are that I really have no clue about. That is an unrelated incident, and the driver that was driving the vehicle that struck Madison took a toxicology test, and it was determined that there was no impairment involved. It was just a freak accident. Emergency service were immediately called to the scene, and there was 2 good Samaritans walking near, and they decided to stop and help Madison until, EMS gets there, and they were performing CPR on her. And the road where Madison was struck is very dark. Like, the lighting was real poor, and it was like a 4 or 5 lane highway with a speed of about 55 miles per hour. And then at this time in the morning, people are speeding. I mean, I'm guilty, but I digress. Brooks is rushed to the hospital nearby, but she unfortunately succumbed to her injuries. And when she was examined at the hospital, her blood alcohol content was 0.319, with each drink equating to about 0.02%. This meant that Madison consumed about 15 to 20 drinks that night, which is wild. She was living her best life. So January 16th, which is the very next day, investigators looked into the accident that killed Madison, and they learned from surveillance footage that she left Reggie's bar with the 4 men. And officials determined the identities of these men and started interviewing them, or showing up at their home per se, one by one. So Kason Carver, which was the driver of the car, is questioned first, and he talks. He arrived at the sheriff's office at about 6 p.m. on the 16th of January 2023. He was read his Miranda rights, and he voluntarily waived his right to an attorney and agreed to provide a statement to the police department. He confirmed to police that he and the 3 suspects went to Reggie's bar on Tuesday, January 14th, for a few drinks. It was the first time any of them ever seen or met Maddie. And he says that Madison walked with the group as they were leaving. He described her as being very unstable on her feet, not able to keep her balance, and really just slurring her words. And he said that Madison walked with Desmond, and he witnessed them hugging. But what Kason didn't tell the police, earlier that night, Desmond and Madison were seen on surveillance dancing at Reggie's. So Kason then tells the police that Madison asked for a ride home. He asked Madison where her friends were, but she really just didn't know. So she was really toasted, or how I like to say, wasted. So they agreed to drive her home because they didn't want to leave her by herself in an intoxicated state, and the bar was closing. So Kason stated that he drove the vehicle, and Everett, which happens to be Kavion's uncle, the 28-year-old, sat in the passenger seat while Kavion and Desmond sat in the back seat with Madison. And when Kason asked Madison for her address again, he saw that she was slumped over and just really unable to answer him. So the 4 of them drove a short distance before they pulled over on the side of the street, which is the street name happened to be Jennifer Jean Drive. So now, remember how I did that trigger warning? Buckle up, y'all. So when they pulled over, Kason overheard Desmond ask Madison like 5 different times if she wanted to have sex with him. He tells police that Madison, despite being intoxicated and slumped over, verbally gave consent. Desmond and Kavion took turns having sex with Madison in the back seat. Kason stated that while Desmond and Kavion were having sex with Madison, that Everett, aka Kavion's uncle, exited the vehicle and returned after the act was done. Kason stated that while the sexual acts were being performed, he felt uncomfortable and he hated it. So, like, why not speak up? If you felt uncomfortable and hated it, why didn't you just speak up, stop it, try to prevent this from happening, bro? Like, be like, bruh, this ain't cool. Nah, man, I ain't cool with this. Y'all need to stop that. Like, why not say something? Hell, Kavion's uncle be like, boy, what you doing? Where is that adult figure in this case? Uncle Everett, 28 years old. You had the authority to get your nephew under control and to stop this from happening. But no, you exited the vehicle and you let it happen. So the assault stopped after Kason finally decided to get the nerve to say, we got to stop this. Let's go. And at this time, this is when Kavion and Madison then put their clothes back on, and that's when Kason drove away from the area and was trying to bring Madison home. There were about 50 minutes, so approximately an hour, between the times that suspect was seen driving away from the bar, and the fatal crash happened with Brooks. And according to Kavion, this is his version. So we got Kason's version. Now we're going to have Kavion's version. Kavion stated at his interview, he expressed that he was sad about the victim's death and stated, "We were the last people she saw." Kavion admitted that he and his friends left the bar with the victim and walked towards their vehicle. Kavion stated as he was walking behind Madison and his friend that he was laughing because how you meet a random girl and just bring her home. And he didn't say this out loud. He just said this inside his head. Kavion also admitted that Madison did not have her balance and was stumbling all over the place. So whenever Kavion stated that they were approaching the vehicle, Madison, again, same story, same scenario as Kason. She was pulling on the wrong door handle, trying to get into the wrong car, and this is when Kavion stated he witnessed Desmond and Madison touched one another's private areas while in the vehicle. Kavion stated Desmond had his hand on Madison's vagina over her clothing, and Madison had her hand on Desmond's penis over his clothing. Kavion denied witnessing sexual intercourse occur between Desmond and Madison, and he also denied having sex with Madison as well. He admitted that Madison was drunk, and his exact words were, "When I say she was drunk, I meant drunk. She was drunk." So Kavion stated they then dropped Madison off at a subdivision near the crash scene. At the end of the interview, he was asked to submit his DNA, at which time he refused and requested a lawyer, that's whenever the interview ended. So Madison was drinking at Reggie's when she met these 4 individuals, and Madison's mom stated there's no way Madison put herself at 3 a.m. in a very busy highway without her phone. So I'm a little confused because some of the details, like I was saying, minutes before Madison was hit, her mom stated that she received a "I love you" text message. So, I mean, if she didn't have her phone and her phone was at the bar and her brother went pick it up, I mean, it would have had to happen way before that. That's what I'm going with. There's no way. It had to happen while she was at the bar. Before the assault, before she was dropped off and hit by the car. So, a subsequent investigation into the incident confirmed that between texting her mom before midnight and her deadly accident, she got into the vehicle with the 4 young men, in which she asked for a ride home with. And at the time of her death, like I said, her blood alcohol content was 0.319, which is almost 4 times the legal limit to drive. So, she passed away on January 15th, and she made a lasting impact by donating her heart valves and kidneys to save the lives of other people. So, a very good act of kindness. The men, Kavion DeAndre Washington, age 18, Everett Lee, age 28, the uncle, Kason Carver, age 18, and Desmond Carter, for a while was not even mentioned because of his age, but then he was tried as an adult at the age of 17. They turned themselves into the police department, and all 4 have been accused of raping Brooks before shoving her onto the side of the parkway. And during the initial interview, Carver, which is Kason, said that Brooks and him met at Reggie's, and he's again stated that he recalled Desmond asking the victim about 5 times that she went to have sex, and she supposedly gave verbal consent, which, let's just say she was able to slur out, okay, yes, I agree. She is not in her right mind. That alcohol, again, 4 times the legal limit in the state of Louisiana. She is not in her right mind. She is not at a position where she can give consent. And you know this. You stated that she was falling all over the place. She almost got into the wrong car, but the door was locked, and you was laughing at her. And like, what? Y'all solely took advantage of her in her drunken state, and it's just sad. So sad. So, both Carter and Carver have been indicted on first and third degree rape charges. Everett and Kavion were awaiting their indictment. And since then, they have been booked on the principle of third degree rape and third degree rape. So Kavion also been accused of sexually assaulting other women at Reggie's bar last August. So this is not his first time. So it looks like he preys on drunk girls. The four suspects maintain that the sex was consensual, which, no it wasn't. But in late January, their defense teams presented a brief clips of Brooks getting out of the group's car, which they argued proved that the mass communications student had not been raped or willfully abandoned. So the defense was arguing that she wasn't raped and they didn't just abandon her. So let's finish getting on to the juicy details. So Madison's mom, her attorney shot down that video, saying that the content was just too hurtful and shameful for Madison's family. And her mom stated, open quotations, "I had to take time to cry. I cried all day long." Close quotations. And this was the first weeks after her daughter's death. She also recalled that Madison's last day home is when she spent the day packing up some of her things for the spring semester before she went to a friend's birthday. She said that she kissed her like she always did and stated that she loved her so much and she was going to see her on that following Sunday. Brooks' heart valves and kidney were donated, like I said, and she said that she grapples with her daughter's death and it feels like she's with her all the time, which, my God, I cannot imagine how Madison's mom is feeling and getting through this. But oh my God. So even though Kaysen and Everett did not participate in the assault per se, they both remained in the vehicle and did nothing to stop it. So Kaysen admitted to the police that he felt uncomfortable and hated it, whatever. And whenever investigators asked Kaysen and Everett if they thought Madison was too impaired to give the consent, he said, "I guess." What? You guess? What? Yeah, bruh, yeah. So, January 23rd, 2023, Desmond, Kaysen, Kavion, and Everett are booked into East Baton Rouge Parish Jail. Kaysen and Everett are charged with the principles to third-degree rape. Being principal to a crime means that an individual's direct actions or lack of contributed to the crime actually happening. Kavion is charged with third-degree rape, and in the state of Louisiana, third-degree rape is sexual intercourse when the victim is incapable of resisting or of understanding the nature of the act by the reason of an abnormal condition of the mind produced by an intoxicating agent or any other cause that may alter that. And the offender knew or should have known the victim's state. And they stated that they didn't know it, so don't shy down now, boo. And so, on January 24th, they appear in court for their bond hearings. And it was Judge Brad Myers from the 19th Judicial District who ordered Kaysen to be held on a $150,000 bond. Kaysen and Everett are held on $50,000 and $75,000 bonds. And Kaysen and Everett ended up posting bail and released that same day. And Louisiana state officials issued emergency suspension on the service or sale of alcoholic beverages. So at this time, there was no alcohol sales happening. Well, they shouldn't have been. And January 26, Kavion posted his $150,000 bond and was released. So the following month, on February 28th, the last day of February, literally, Desmond is booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. He was being charged. Oh my gosh. He's being charged with first and third degree rape, and he's going to be tried as an adult. So what happened in Carter's bail? Ultimately, the judge lowered Carter's bail to $100,000, but it's unclear if he paid and was released on that bond. So now we get to some other information. So as investigators dig into these suspects, find out, their history and all this good juicy stuff, officials learned that Kavion was previously charged with 2 other sexual offenses. 3 years prior, he was charged with first-degree rape of a 12-year-old female. Ugh. In May 2020, Kavion raped the victim at a pool party in Walker, Louisiana, when he himself was 16 years old, so 4 years older than the victim. Allegedly, and if you can't see me, quotations, air quotations, allegedly, he followed the victim into her room at her family's apartment, pulled off her towel, threw her on the bed, and raped her while covering her mouth. The victim reported the rape to the police in 2021, but there was no charges filed. The second sexual offense occurred in August 2022, which, again, it involved a female that Kavion and another friend, Carson Jones, met at Reggie's bar. And like Madison, the victim in the October 2022 incident drank at the same watering hole, aka Reggie's bar, and met Kavion and his friend Carson at Reggie's. The October victim, whose age was not identified in court records, was too drunk to drive, so Jones and Washington allegedly drove her from the bar to Jones's home, where both men allegedly sexually assaulted her and force-fed her alcohol when she asked for water. So instead of bringing her water, they kept bringing her more alcohol, getting her more and more drunk. Several surveillance images from the apartment complex were displayed as still images, and they tracked the suspect's car where Brooks was allegedly raped, and it showed that it stayed in the same spot for about 20 minutes. And investigators stated, you really can't see what's going on inside the car from the surveillance camera, because someone literally hung a freaking t-shirt on the back window to block the view of what was going on in the back seat. Wow. So during the 20 minutes that the car was parked in the parking lot, prosecutors played video snippets of one of Kavion shoving Maddie down into the back seat, physically shoving her and pushing her hard. During this time, Miller said loud rap music was being played throughout the incident. But you still hear Maddie scream, "Get off." So that's captured on video, Miller said. Even though the back seat was blocked by some sort of obstruction, t-shirt on the back window, Carver's 10 to 15 second selfies video, because this guy, which is the driver of the vehicle, yeah, y'all, this guy was videoing selfie videos from the driver's seat. And this literally put eyes inside the car for law enforcement. What they stated was, you can see what's going on in the back seat from the right side of the camera. That's where you can see Kavion pushing Maddie down. Then you can see Carter with his pants down on top of Maddie. You kind of see her legs sticking up, and she doesn't have anything on. You know it's Desmond because he wore a plaid shirt. As this activity unfolded, Investigators stated that the music continued to play and at least one of the suspects was heard cheering. How disgusting is that? What? You cheering? You fucking cheering your boys on while they fucking raping someone? Clearly stated, get off. So she was not being consensual. So Carver, as he's recording, is like a narrator. And he goes a couple of times. They just flip this B. And that's what the investigator said. They said that in the recording of the video, they state that Carver was stating, just flip this bitch. So after that act occurred, of them both taking turns raping her, they ended up dropping Brooks off on Burbank Highway. And prosecutors continued to play short clips of the videos after Brooks, who was extremely intoxicated, was forced out of the suspect's car in the middle of Burbank Drive. She stumbled into the middle of the street where she was then hit by that rideshare driver. So now we're going to get to the autopsy, y'all. So a postmortem examination conducted at East Baton Rouge Parish Coroner's Office shows that the victim had injuries consistent with previous sexual assault. A urine sample test positive for THC. So Shane Evans, which is the chief investigator for the East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Coroner's Office at that time, stated that Brooks died from multiple traumatic injuries, second motor vehicle collision versus pedestrian. Again, he stated that the blood alcohol content was 0.319, which is 4 times the legal limit for driving in the state of Louisiana, and urine samples tested positive for THC. And according to the University Notre Dame research, they literally stated that the effects of blood alcohol content between 0.25 grams and 0.39 grams are listed as alcohol poisoning and a loss of consciousness. So, therefore, that proves Madison was unable to properly give consent for sex, which, hello, we know this. Not to mention, she said get off. So, where's the consensuality in that? So, upon review of the medical records, investigators looked at the videos from all the business and the surrounding areas. And that's whenever they show Brooks arriving at the bar about 10 and leaving with the 4 men about 2. And the video inside of the bar also shows that 17-year-old suspect, Desmond, and Brooks ended up dancing and hugging during the night. And about 1 a.m., that's when Brooks is seen stumbling and needing help to get back on her feet. DNA from the 4 suspects charged in alleged rape of Madison Brooks was not found inside Maddie, but according to her leaked autopsy, which was obtained by WBRZ, genetic material from one of the suspects, Kavion Washington, was found around her genital area, and an abrasion and bruising on Brooks' back side was noted as highly suspicious for a sexual assault. And according to DNA results from the Louisiana State Police Crime Laboratory, material gathered from the 13 swabs and 2 washings resulted in insufficient male DNA samples from the vagina, cervical, anal, and perineal areas. A swab of external genitalia revealed DNA that could have come from Washington, but none of the others. However, a separate lab report stated that there was insufficient male DNA present and no indication that an assault may have occurred. So then there was this evidence leak scenario. So Carver takes that message and he started a group chat with other 3 individuals involved, stating the message sort of starts with, let's get our story straight. So he's over here trying to collaborate the story on what happened, and they all go with the same story. They agreed to delete the videos and pictures off their phones, in which they were stupid enough to take. But there were some still on social media, which was left by Washington, and prosecutors during a court appearance let it all out. So that's just when the leaked video of Brooks leaving the bar, and the defense was stating no reasonable jury will convict. Long, who was representing Carver, wrote in an email and stated that the autopsy is a game changer as a potential trial of looms. They stated that they believe that the DNA evidence gives them reasonable doubt and no reasonable jury will convict after hearing that evidence. The state will have a difficult time proving that sexual intercourse if there is no DNA in the victim. And even if the state could prove sexual intercourse, it cannot prove that it was not consensual. So now we get to the conviction. All three adult suspects, because you remember at this first, there wasn't charging 17-year-old Desmond as an adult. So the first three, Judge Brad Myers says he personally had viewed the footage related to the case, and he stated that he watched a video of Brooks and the suspects from inside the vehicle. According to the report, Myers said that the footage was allegedly taken by one of the four suspects, aka Kaysen, and he depicted the others very callously and was laughing at Madison Brooks, who appeared to slur as she was speaking. And according to the report, the video did not include the alleged rape. Judge Myers also stated he saw footage that showed Brooks inside of Reggie's bar earlier in the night as she struggled to stand up and she could be seen falling. The judge reportedly stated that he believed, based on the footage and other evidence, that a crime did actually occur. So prosecutors announced they will be seeking to charge the suspects with first-degree rape, and though it was not clear if they plan to take action against all or some of the four men, that prosecutors are also expected to impanel a grand jury in this case. So Judge Myers orders Washington to be held on that $150,000 bond in connection with the third-degree rape charge. Carver and Lee were charged as the principals of rape and again held on that $50,000 and $75,000 bond. And like I said previously, Carver and Lee ended up posting the same day that their bond amount was stated. They posted bail. And the 17-year-old, aka Desmond, could face up to about 25 years in prison, according to Louisiana state law, if they are convicted. And Carter's lawyer argued that the bond for Desmond should be reduced from $150,000 to $75,000 despite his age, as he is being tried as an adult. Prosecutors objected and revealed some of the evidence. They have ultimately secured indictments against Carter, Carver, Everett, and Cavion. And they were all charged in connection with the alleged rape. So ultimately, Judge did lower his bail to $100,000, but it is unclear if Desmond was able to pay and he was released on bail or he just spent his time in prison. So all the suspects have pleaded not guilty to all the charges and they maintain their innocence. The DA's office secured grand jury indictments against 3 of the 4 suspects on the state's most severe sexual assault charge, which is punishable by life in prison. Their lawyers have argued that the sex was consensual and went as far as saying this would not even be a criminal case. In fact, Madison Brooks did not die. So, I get you gotta defend, but damn, fucking heartless, huh? So defense, Joe Long, who represented Kaysen, stated that Madison Brooks' death is a tragedy, but not a crime. When all the evidence is known, everyone see this was not a crime. Brooks occasionally worked at Reggie's. The attorney also shared a photo with a post that Madison posted to her social media previously, which shows her and 2 friends with a caption reading, 3 little Reggie's workers. And it isn't clear whether Brooks ever worked at the bar, but Joe Long used this in his defense and states that Madison had consensual relations with another guy the day prior to her death. The attorney claims that information, if true, could help exonerate his client. And in new court filing, the attorney stated that it is crucial that he be allowed to be subpoenaed and interview that unidentified male LSU student. And Attorney Joseph Long filed a motion for preliminary examination on March 11th, 2024. So District Attorney Hiller Moore stated that defense Joe Long's motion is totally improper, and under the law, he will object to it. Prosecutors have since filed rape charges against all 4 of the male suspects. 3 of those suspects have been indicted, including Kason Carver, the driver of the vehicle. And because Carver was indicted, he does not have a constitutional right to a preliminary examination, except for when there is a need for preservation of evidence. And Carver's attorney, Long, argues in his new motion that a preliminary examination should have been allowed in order for him to try to get statements under oath from the male student as well as the female friend of Brooks. So the lawyer claimed that Madison allegedly had sexual relations with another student in the early morning hours of January 14th, which is the day prior to her being ran over. And Joe Long stated that the results of Brooks' autopsy showed signs that are consistent with sexual intercourse. And he also claimed that could have happened during her alleged sexual encounter with a different of the 4 guys, LSU student, which could have been a couple of hours before. And in his filing, Joe Long states that a close female friend of Brooks with the alias Haley Cage picked up Madison from the student's home and testified that her and Madison had intimate conversation during their car ride, including Madison's admissions about having sex with said student. And the attorney says that the female friend has indicated that she did not want to testify in the case. And the attorney says that he has been unable to contact the unnamed male and believes that the student is apparently a hostile witness to the defense and a potential flight risk, since his hometown is literally outside of Louisiana. So if the judge approved his motion, Long is asking for a preliminary examination to be held on April 30th, 2024. So yeah, that just passed not that long ago. And more, the district attorney stated that Long's motion is, again, completely contrary to the statute that covers these types of allegations. He said that he will file a motion that any hearing on the matter be closed to the public because of the sensitive nature of the allegations. So Joe Long, who represented Carver, said in an email that prosecutors have not provided that discovery to him. And in fact, there's a lot of discovery that has not been provided. And he also said, I don't have any further comment as I was not present, have not seen the discovery, and don't want to represent Desmond. So Ron Haley, who represents Washington and Lee, so Kavion and Everett, claimed that the footage showed that Madison Brooks was not blacked out drunk at the time and was capable to consenting to sex. Okay, where did you get your license, boo, to practice that law? So the argument that Ron Haley was stating is, can you tell that she was intoxicated? Yeah. To the point under the law that you say you're in a drunken stupor, to the point that you cannot lawfully give in consent or answer questions? Absolutely, that was not the case. And that's what Ron Haley stated. So the attorney separately stated that the video does not show a sexual act. Instead, 4 clips filmed by Washington showed that Brooks was using choice language with Carver as the driver was growing increasingly frustrated at her changing her mind on where she wants to be taken. And it's a conversation, pretty much with an argument between her and Kaysen. And Kaysen was frustrated that this was the third address that apparently Madison was providing him with. And it's him saying, listen, we can't do this all night. Make up your mind where you want to be. And apparently Madison gets upset and uses some choice language directed at Carver. After that, he verbally asks her to get out of the vehicle, and she says, that's fine, I'll Uber to wherever I need to go next. Apparently, allegedly. So this is when they stated that she got out on her own accord, and only after they had driven off, she was hit by another vehicle. They did not just dump her out of the car, according to Ron Haley. They did not force her out of the vehicle, saying one of the videos showed her getting out. I think at one point, of all the others trying to calm the situation down, said, look, this looks kind of weird, get back in the car. Madison apparently refused to, again, according to them. And Ron Haley stated he wanted the public to know that these young men did not just drop her off the side of the road. He stressed that they expressed their remorse to him, and nobody wanted her to die. It is a tragedy, and yes, they were upset. So, there's no winner in this, according to Ron Haley. That's the statement that he made. And he also said that someone has lost their life, and these young men may lose their freedom. As they should. Okay. So, Ron Haley predicted that the videos from inside the car would acquit his clients fully. However, that footage was presented before a bond hearing where Judge Meyer said it showed evidence was clear that there was proof of criminality. Oh my gosh. So, Washington's lawyer, Ron Haley, stated in a statement to the media after Washington's third arrest that there are several concerns with the most recent charge. First, like the matter in Livingston, the follow-up investigation took place on about January 25th, 2023, referring to the time when the victim reportedly allegedly raped that person. Secondly, the date of the incident on Mr. Washington's warrant is different from his co-defendant. Third, in a warrant of his co-defendant, it does not mention anything regarding intoxication. It states the victim was having consensual sex with his co-defendant in the presence of Mr. Washington. And in the original warrant, the date of the alleged rape is listed as August 1st, 2022, but police have said it was an error and should have been on October 1st, 2022. And finally, the victim never accused Mr. Washington of having sexual intercourse with her, and they're curious to know why he was actually charged with rape. Do you not know why he was charged with rape? The child is a minor. He was not. Just, I just can't. The victim in the October 22 incident was too drunk to drive home and asked Jones if she could sleep at his place. When they got inside, Jones threatened to kick her out if Washington couldn't watch them have sex. A fucking pig. So sex was apparently consensual at first, but according to a warrant, Jones allegedly pinned her down and became increasingly aggressive, at which time she repeatedly told him to stop, and he just ignored her. The victim said no and stopped multiple times and then asked for a cup of water. That at which time Washington allegedly brought her alcohol instead of the water, and she said she didn't want that. So Jones allegedly grabbed her face and held her mouth open as Washington poured the drink down her throat. Bruh, this is some sick shit. Stop. And apparently continued having sex while Washington allegedly watched and then joined in by groping her. I do apologize for all these little weird noises you hear come out of my mouth, but damn, what? Are you just sit there and watch your friend have sex with somebody and then group it? Just it's fucking disgusting. Just no, that's just weird. Because I would not be in a room watching my friend have sex with someone. That's just fucking sick. Blah. Afterward, Washington allegedly apologized to the victim in a text message and claimed that Jones grabbed Washington's hands to grope her, according to reports. So, Miller suspects, the Livingston Parish case will be held first. So while the case involving Brooks and October 22 victim will be separate, the two cases will have an impact on each other, and as well as the Livingston Parish case. And they think that the October 22 case may proceed faster because that complainant is alive and will carry about 80% of the evidence, versus Madison Brooks' case, where prosecutors have to piece together what happened without Brooks. And it's like prosecuting a murder without a body, pretty much. So Desmond Carter's attorney was Rosalind Freeman, and they did not make any comments in relations to this. And Brooks' mom's attorney, Carrie Miller, stated that she's the lawyer who represents Madison's mom, that addressed that the leaked autopsy report during an interview was just freakly accidents, I guess. I don't know. So they stated that this is what juries are for, to get the totality of all the evidence and not snippets of selectively released material. So basically, she was going with, we want the full report. We don't want just the parts that make you look good and everybody else look bad. Which, yeah, I understand. So it's easy for the defense to make comments because the victim isn't here to speak for herself. But the suspect's lawyers' comments are literally a 360 from their original statements. And they stated that Carver's statements to the investigators, which were included in previously released court documents, and the lawyer's press conference where they argued their client's sex with Brooks was consensual, were a little fishy. So, LSU president of the school was pretty much ripped a new one because he was victim blaming in his statement that he released. And students were very disgusted by the president of LSU stating all of this. So LSU President William Tate IV emailed to students focused on pretty much detailing underage drinking in Baton Rouge bars near the campus, like Reggie's, and he understand that it was a popular watering hole for students that was shut down by the state. And he did not mention Reggie's by name, but that's where Brooks had been earlier in the night before she died. And it says, I quote, so I'm going to read the letter that the president of LSU sent by email to their students. And it says, oh, man. So, again, the letter states, this afternoon, police arrested 4 individuals following an investigation into the events preceding the death of LSU student Madison Brooks, who was struck by a vehicle on Burbank Drive. Madison was a daughter, a granddaughter, a sister, a niece, a classmate, and a friend to many of you. By all accounts, she was an amazing young woman with limitless potential. She should not have been taken from us in this way. What happened to her was evil, and our legal system will parcel out justice. Our collective grief and outrage cannot be put into mere words. So what can we do? It is time for action. One place to target our attention is the very place where this encounter began. All but one of the suspects involved in this horrific scenario were underage, yet were able to consume alcohol at a local bar. As such, our action plan starts with a deep and relentless focus on any establishment that profits off of our students by providing alcohol to underage individuals. In the coming days, we will call a meeting with these business owners to discuss how their responsibilities directly impact the safety of all our students. We will work openly against any business that doesn't join us in efforts to create a safer environment for their students. Enough is enough. And finally, he states, real and long-lasting solutions require multiple strategies, so we will not stop there. That is why I am asking our entire Baton Rouge community, from business leaders to citizens, to work together and join us in this effort. We will share additional action items in the coming days, but for now, please join me in keeping Madison's family in our thoughts and prayers. William Tate IV, LSU president. I just can't. So, all of them, Madison included, and the 4 men with the exception of Everett Lee, 28, were underage and were served alcohol the night of January 15th, and this is before that Madison was allegedly raped by the men and dropped off on the side of the highway. So, college Democrats of LSU and Feminists in Action sent a letter to Tate, which was obtained, and said action plan falls short of consoling a grieving and fearful student body. The student body finds itself sickened by this attempt to victim blame and further ignored overwhelming violence, particularly sexually violence, we face as students, the student groups wrote. Instead, you chose to reinforce rape culture on our campus and in a greater East Baton Rouge community. While students are grieving the loss of our peer and fearing our safety and well-being, your administration directs its attention to underage consumption of alcohol. This response is inexcusable. So Tate's message was directed at perpetrators and establishments that enabled them to weaponize alcohol against their students instead of what happened to Madison. And the vice president of LSU stated that it bills itself as an elite university with a reputation for excellence, where the cost of attendance can top up to $50,000 a year. And there's a total lack of acknowledgement that LSU has responsibility over this. And Reggie's, which is a bar and obviously blamed for this, may at some point be, but where in the president's email is there anything saying that LSU is doing anything to help this situation? And it states that while they agreed this is going to take a group of people to make changes, why is LSU not at the forefront of this? They were calling on Baton Rouge businesses and citizens, but what are you doing to help? Like, as a campus, how about campus police and Baton Rouge police? What are they doing? Calling a meeting and passing the blame? I mean, what the hell is that? So, the bar hotspot for students is about a mile from the campus and a 5 to 10 minute walk back to the students' housing area. The area is populated by several bars, a couple of mini-marts, a liquor store, and a smoke shop. But it is technically municipal property and not an official extension of LSU. And apparently, somebody wanted that to be treated as if it was part of LSU, which, why? Why would you want that? Like, you are a school. Like, quit dipping your fingers in everybody's pie. Just need to stop. So the main campus is outfitted with several emergency blue call buttons, but there are not any of those call buttons in Tigerline, which has virtually no street lights, no sidewalks, and really has been overpopulated by outside people who didn't live or wasn't from around the area. And when Brooks died in the early morning hours of January 15th, it was pouring down. The rain was horrendous. And apparently, to protect students who are walking home, they want to see better lighting and emergency boxes installed along the walking route and sidewalks on the campus. The blame isn't all on LSU, but this obviously happened before and will happen again until there's large widespread safety precautions in place. There's no possible way that the university can claim that they do not know where students go to hang out or drink, where the majority of them live. And the news really rocked the LSU community of Madison. So this also suffered another tragedy in recent years. In 2017, Louisiana State University student Max Groover, 18, died of alcohol poisoning after he was forced to drink as a fraternizing hazing. In 2019, Matthew Knockin, which was 21-year-old, was convicted of negligent homicide for his role in Groover's death. And in September, Allison Rice, which is a 21-year-old senior, was fatally shot in her car in what authorities believed was a random attack. So yeah, attacks on LSU, you need a boost of security. Make it possible so someone can reach out to freaking help. Anyways, the tributes. The 19-year-old LSU sophomore received a touching Instagram tribute from her sorority sister shortly after her death, in which they expressed that Brooks was a hero whenever she donated her heart valves and kidneys to save others. And I'm going to read the post on what happened that her sorority sisters posted. We send our deepest sympathies to her family and friends during this incredibly difficult time. We respectfully ask for time and space so we may support each other in our healing process. We are grieving the sudden and tragic loss of our sister following the accident that took her life. Madison was a radiant sophomore and made a lasting impact on all of us. She was also a hero and was able to donate her heart and kidneys to save the lives of others. We send deepest sympathies to her family and friends during this incredibly difficult time. We respectfully ask for time and space so we may support each other in our healing process. So, that's legit. That's legit. And someone wrote that Maddie had a smile that beamed, one that made others smile even on their darkest days. We never want people to stop smiling, and we ask that you help us spread Maddie's smile by participating in the Maddie Made Me Smile. Share that hashtag and on a day where you are reminded of Maddie's love. Pay it forward by performing a random act of kindness where you are leaving or distributing one of Madison's cards so that they can light up the world with her spirit. And you can download a card on Madison's website. So, Maddie is literally part of the constellations, and in the sky, she is a star. And she's within the Taurus constellation. A star has been reportedly recorded as Maddie Brooks' star in an International Star and Space Registry. As one Maddie would have it, her star is located at the tip of the bull's upper horn as a reminder to be brave, strong, and fearless. The star's coordinates are 5, 27, 39.8, 28, 37, 36.3. Girl, y'all don't even ask me how that works out because I have no clue about the coordinates. But anyways, it was registered into the International Star and Space Registry on January 15, 2023, and has a registration number. Which, y'all, I didn't even know you could buy stars, or if this is just like something. That's cool as hell. So, Reggie's bar had a very bad reputation, right? So, a lot of LSU students who live in and off the campus was always attending there. And it was literally a little strip of different bars. Reggie's bar is no stranger to underage drinking and crime and had a long-standing reputation for serving alcohol to minors. When the bar was open, it permitted entry guests to 18 plus years of age. So it was owned by two former employees of sports, which was the name of the bar in the 90s. The bar is no stranger to serving underage minors, and folks on Reddit, yes, I looked into Reddit as a source, claim the bar used predatory tactics such as following the free entry to underage females and supplying them with free alcoholic beverages. So let's get these females twisted, and these men could take advantage of them. So the Louisiana Alcohol Tobacco Committee released the following statements. The Louisiana Alcohol Tobacco Committee is working with Baton Rouge and local law enforcement to investigate and share evidence regarding recent incidents at this establishment of Reggie's Bar. And due to the seriousness of the allegations and potential threat to public safety, as an emergency, suspension will be issued today of Reggie's Bar to operate. And this action immediately suspends the service of sale or alcoholic beverage at this location. An emergency hearing will be held within a month to determine what penalties, if any, should be imposed following a presentation of the evidence. And in June 2017, a sting operation was conducted at Reggie's Bar, which found 19 people, 17 years old or younger, inside the bar. The bar was required to shut down twice for periods of 45 days and issued an $8,000 fine. And as a direct result of Madison's death, Reggie's Bar lost his liquor license in January 2023 and was issued a $15,000 fine, and shortly after, it literally closed permanently. So the bar's owner was Darian Adams, and apparently he is prohibited from opening a bar in the state of Louisiana ever again. So, few Reddit users, yes, I told y'all I went to Reddit, they shared their experiences from Reggie's Bar. And one person wrote, "My first week of my freshman year, I had shielded 4 women that I had just met. One of them is now my wife, from gunfire while on Molly's. And at 18 years old, 2 weeks later, saw a girl get drugged and had to physically remove the scumbag from her side. A few months later, guy get a beer bottle smashed over his head and nearly bleeds out of the parking lot." Holy shit. And another person wrote, "I was sexually assaulted here. So were many, many others because LSU frat encouraged members to drug and assault people there. I am glad to see it shut down, but the fact that someone died to make it happen really hurts." And then finally, another person wrote, "When I was 18, I used to go there and drink all the time, but it was still called sports for another year or two. It was pretty well known that if you were of age, you went to frats, and if you were underage or some skeezy guy trying to fuck a teenager, you went to sports or Reggie's." So Reggie's Bar attorney stated that the business owners contacted them on that following Wednesday and look forward to meeting with him and his team to work together to address issues raised in his recent press release. And when asked what their plan was and how LSU proposed to partner with local businesses and stakeholders, what assistance or suggestions might they provide? LSU's response to this was to thank us for reaching out, and they would get back to us in coming weeks. We'll look forward to hearing back from the President Tate and his team soon, but that didn't occur. So, the aftermath. The first Christmas the family spends without Maddie. Madison Brooks' stocking was hung from the fireplace with care like it always was for every Christmas. And with the exception this year, they stated that they were going to fill it with letters to Maddie. Their Christmas tree was decorated with a beautiful explosion of pink ribbons, angels, and images of Madison. And the Brooks is helping 2 children, a boy and a girl, near their home in Louisiana, who were forced to escape a broken home rife with abuse. And Brooks' mom bought them gifts, and her family will play Santa in their daughter's honor. And Maddie's mom said that Maddie had a super sweet heart. She was very giving. Christmas was her favorite holiday, but not because of the gifts, just because of being with family and seeing other people happy and smile. That's what brought her so much joy. The first holiday season without Brooks is going to be an emotional roller coaster. Her daughter was the life of the party. And they said that she would be right in the middle of every conversation and making everyone laugh. And they said that Madison Brooks enjoyed her sleep, as does any teenager. Hell, as an adult, I want some sleep. But they said that she was her sleeper, but the minute her brothers, who were now 9 and 11, would go in her room and wake her up, she wanted to be right there with them. So the loss of that type of dynamic presence among the chaos and festivities was going to be noticeable and never completely filled. And they wanted to make sure that Maddie's presence would be felt all over their home and their community. And it's a way of continuing to give like Maddie did. And they plan to do that every year. Every year moving forward, they stated that the immediate stalking The media is stalking. What? The immediate family will write a letter to Maddie, and we're going to put it in her stalking rhythm on Christmas morning. So she's still part of our Christmas morning. We'll keep those letters forever. And then there's what Maddie's mom called the angel tree. She and her best friend, Jenny, decorated a tree with Brooks' favorite color, pink, and covered it with angels. Also, there's the Madison Brooks Foundation. And the Madison Brooks Foundation was founded by Madison's mom, Ashley, in 2023. The foundation provides financial assistance to persons in need, advocates for the safety of young adults, and spreads awareness about organ donation. And on April 12, 2023, the Madison Brooks Foundation hosted one of its first events to discuss sexual harassment, relationships, and consent. And an activist and advocate against sexual assault, Catherine Kostner, and the director of Take Back the Night Fountain, was invited to be a guest speaker to LSU students on Madison Brooks Foundation's behalf. And Catherine literally shares her story on how she was assaulted sexually at the age of 18 at a campus. So the Madison Brooks Foundation honors the memory of Madison Brooks, and they extend their kindness to those around, and they really want everyone to know that she will be extremely and painfully missed. She lived her life to the fullest and enjoyed the simple pleasures of beach days with her friends, shopping with her mother, and Friday night football games as a cheerleader. Her brave spirit and sense of adventure led her to ski down the Rocky Mountains with her mother and skydive over the Grand Canyon with her father. Huh. Damn. So it's not just one of those indoor things. Girl did it. Huh. I'm jelly. So Madison was a sorority sister again at Alpha Phi, and championship friend, unity, and a woman's heart help. And her legacy, it's Maddie's honor that the Madison Brooks Foundation was formed with goals to provide financial help to those in need, to advocate for the safety of young adults, and to spread awareness of the gift of organ donation. And in lieu of gifts and flowers, please consider donating to the Madison Brooks Foundation. So LSU Girls Ride. The aftermath of Madison's death, two LSU freshmen, Alicia Ortolano and Caitlin Bakewell, created an LSU Girls Race. The LSU Girls Ride is a free service through GroupMe, a rideshare app, to connect female users with female-only drivers. The effort is to provide female LSU students with a way out of an uncomfortable or potentially dangerous situation. And Cardam, following their tragedy, Senator Beth Mizell proposed a bill as Cardam. It stands for Create Alcohol Responsibly and Deterrence. Cardam would raise the minimum age for those who work in or enter a bar, including performers, from 18 to 21. And Beth Mizell said that you cannot say, oh, we're following the law and we care about our young people who come into our bar and be totally irresponsible with the way that you say. Unfortunately, the bill did not pass. And where the case stands now today, defense attorneys have a job to do, and that's obviously to defend their accused parties. However, one of the more infuriating parts of this case is the fact that they're using the sexual assault of Madison as it wasn't a crime and that she did indeed consent. The defense is claiming that despite Madison's blood alcohol content of 0.319%, she was capable of providing consent, which she did, and the sexual assault was actually conventional. There's a leaked video, which obviously we know, and it was shown in the courtroom, of Madison apologizing to the driver for offending him before exiting the vehicle. Other surveillance footage captured outside of Reggie's bar shows Madison running after the group of men to catch up with them. The defense is claiming that if Madison were able to run and talk despite stumbling after slurring speech and being unable to recall her own address, she was able to provide them with legal consent, which, Obviously, none of the four suspects said that was the case. None of them said that she was running. What? So there's a scheduled hearing on August 1st. And Long stated that they will have a jury trial within 8 months. Washington, Carter, and Carver were indicted on first and third degree rape, which is punishable by life in prison. Lee was charged with third degree rape. The suspects have all pleaded not guilty to all the charges, and as of May 30th, 2024, the East Baton Rouge judge on Madison Brooks' case is under fire for previous rape case decisions. NAACP stated that the released DNA evidence affirms that no sexual intercourse occurred. Therefore, the notion of rape is objectively unfounded. This situation is starting to appear less likely justice, more like a bad faith prosecution against individuals who already endured significant hardship. In the pursuit of justice and domestic tranquility, as outlined in the Constitution, the NAACP strongly urged District Attorney Moore to reconsider and dismiss the Madison Brooks case. It is time to ensure the principles of our nation are upheld and that the promise of justice is equally extended to all, irrespective of their race or socioeconomic status. So how is this a racial thing? It's not a racial thing. Bro, there's literally evidence and out of the suspects' mouths that they literally raped her. She was not consensual. What? Why are you making it a race thing? Nobody even brought that card up, boo. Anyways, one of the suspects' lawyers, Joe Long, stated that the case is moving slowly, mainly because the prosecution is fighting defense's access to evidence at every turn. So, I'm not sure what that's about, but clearly y'all obviously doing some faulty stuff. So, Carver and Carter are scheduled to appear on July 2nd in court, which will be closed to the public because of the sensitive nature of the subject. And during the court appearance, Long expects to get access to Brooks' phone data. After that hearing, the defense expects to get into the blood alcohol data and challenge the blood alcohol content at the time of the alleged sexual contact. And prosecutors stated that her blood alcohol was 0.319, which defense intends to challenge. The legal limit for drivers in Louisiana is 0.08, which 0.319, 0.08. You see the fucking difference? Under Louisiana law, the state must prove that Madison Brooks could not legally consent to sex because of the alcohol intoxication. We look forward to litigating the issue in the fall. We ask the public for patience to withhold the judgment as we are under a protective order and cannot share the information until they have the trial. So Madison Brooks' father literally sued everyone involved in his daughter's death, including the Baton Rouge, Louisiana bar who served the underage the alcohol, and the suspects who allegedly raped her, and the Lyft driver who hit her with his car. So Madison's tragic death has taken a devastating emotional toll on her father, and that devastation continues each day. And it is now time that they stated Reggie's bar, its employees, and others should be held responsible for their irresponsible actions and neglect of Louisiana's drinking laws that led to the death of Madison. Reggie's was notorious for serving underage individuals alcohol, and this time the ending was just a tragic death of a beautiful and talented young lady named Madison Brooks. The legal action names nearly a dozen employees from Reggie's, which has been shut down by the state, Madison's alleged rapist, Lyft, and the driver who hit Madison that night, and several insurance companies. Defendants are justly and truly indebted jointly, severally, and solido unto the plaintiff for the injuries, damages, and ultimate death sustained by Madison. And that's what the lawsuit stated. The legal action accuses Reggie's employees, which has become a crime-ridden area near the campus with little to no lighting and sidewalks, of over-serving his underage daughter. Which, I mean, they did. So, she was served approximately 24 alcoholic beverage over a 3-hour time span, despite being visibly intoxicated, according to the lawsuit. And the lawsuit documented each drink and alleges that she fell at least 4 times. Madison is sitting near at the front doors when she falls off a stool. She remained on the ground for approximately 30 seconds while employees moved past her. And that's what the alleged lawsuit stated. And after she fell for the 4th time, all Madison's 4 alleged attackers since been indicted on varying degrees of rape charges. All the suspects pled not guilty in criminal court. The driver was named in the lawsuit, although law enforcement cleared him of any wrongdoing. 2 other Good Samaritans pulled over and tried to assist Madison while the driver was on the phone with 911. The lawsuit names literally a dozen of Reggie's employees who allegedly overserved his daughter. And the lawsuit specifically names Darian Adams and John Landry, the owners of Reggie's Bar, 4 bartenders listed as bartenders number 1 through 4, and bar managers Andy Glennick, Alex Shake Snyder, Landon Rees, and Jackson Robichaud. One of the lawyers, Joe Long, who represents Carver, said in an email that he hasn't been served with the lawsuit and will withhold comment as he focuses on the criminal case. Kaysen did not harm Madison Brooks, he said. We chose not to try this case in the media. The evidence will clear his name at the trial. So John Brooks' lawsuit also names a Lyft driver who police cleared of any wrongdoing after he stopped and immediately dialed 911. And as well as the company Lyft has several insurance companies. Lyft immediately didn't respond. And a year anniversary, January 15th, 2024, marks 1 year since Madison Brooks was tragically killed. So their goal is to ensure that no other family experiences the horrific loss that they had to face this year with losing Madison. And Ashley, Madison's mom, told UWK that her best friend, she lost her best friend, and Madison's grandmother are celebrating Madison's 21st birthday along with Madison's former best friend out of state to honor her love of travel. She said in honor of her daughter's birthday, ETU Home is hosting an event at a store in Charleston in South Carolina on May 7, 2024 from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. and 10% of all its proceeds in the store and online will be donated to the Madison Brooks Foundation. And that, y'all, is the case of Madison Brooks. So much craziness. So I know I normally don't really do cases where, the actual cause of death was not intentional and was mere accidental, but because of the brutality of this case and what they did to cause it is substantial. So if you enjoyed our show, please rate and review us on any of your local podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon, whatever it is. It'll also be posted on our Patreon page and our website, which will be hosted in the show notes. And please be sure to come back next week for another crazy case, but it's a cold case, y'all. I'm not going to give the name away, but until then, this is your host, Sarah Studia, and don't forget to like, share, follow, or subscribe to Criminalist Behavior, a Louisiana True Crime podcast. You could also tell me what you think about this case or any former cases I covered. Also, if there's a particular case you would like me to cover, if there's any just disagreements or agreements, anything you just want to talk about and resolve to like true crime or something, hit me up. Email at criminalbehaviorpodcast@gmail.com. Reach out on social media. We got Twitter, Tumblr, Insta, TikTok, Facebook. And y'all, I'm going to be quite honest with y'all. It's a learning curve for me. I'm old, I guess. 37 is old. And I'm just not tech savvy when it comes down to all those social medias. Like, I get my daughter to help me out because, she knows about it. So, thank y'all so much for listening. Thank y'all for coming and support this podcast and just listen to these stories and hopefully spreading the word. Thank y'all so much. And I hope y'all have a wonderful night. And I'm going to get to bed because it's now 10:30 at night and 10 o'clock is my bedtime. So I can see why I was yarning. Again, y'all, thank y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. And until next time, this is your host, Sarah